Live from the mist-enshrouded mountaintop fortress that is X and Y Communications headquarters, you're listening to the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. And now, here's your host, Scott McKay.
How's it going, gentlemen? This is your boy, Scott McKay, coming at you again with another episode of the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. Coming to you from a sunny and balmy San Antonio this time of year. Go figure. Probably shouldn't have divulged that information for those of you up living in the Great White North. But anyway, we have an exciting show for you today. We have a very nice and upfront lady who's our guest today, a new friend of mine. You guys like when we have women on as guests. Her name is Lauren Zander. She's from New York.
Hey.
We have lots of New Yorkers on, one of many. And she is the co-founder of the Handel Group and the developer of the eponymous Handel method that centers around getting honestly happy, lightening up about our dark side. That's going to be a fun conversation. And something I'm personally intrigued about, which is ending personal pollution. Lauren, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well.
You feeling dark today?
I love talking about the dark side and making people have a sense of humor about how they're pretending they don't have one.
I won't be your Huckleberry. I'll be your Darth Vader.
Oh, I could work with that. I could work with that.
Cool. All right. So listen, this show is going to be called Radical Honesty for the Win.
Yeah.
And I read a little bit about what you do. It's pretty impressive. And I am especially intrigued how in a world where everybody's trying to butter each other up and act all fake, and our Twitter feeds are filled with a bunch of hate for people for no reason, and our Facebook feeds are filled with a bunch of highlight reels that absolutely do not represent what our real lives are like at all.
Right.
There you go. Except for the grace of God goes Lauren Zander and her battle against personal pollution. What got you started on this? How'd you get on such a roll fighting this?
The story goes, looking back, that I have been doing this since my mother tells like the first story of when I was 6 years old. And they got like, I was a big mouth who would like cry hysterically and telling people how awful they were being, but not in a way that like I was hysterical. I was me, but didn't have any rights to speak yet, you know?
Well, what 6-year-old does, right? You know, children are to be seen and not heard back in the day, right?
And you're really not allowed to stop your parents in the middle of a fight and tell them they're being cold or distant or wrong or any of that. But I swear to bejesus, I tried.
And sometimes kids are more intuitive to that than even the adults are.
In looking back now, they give me that credit. When I was in it, I was just a radical pain in the ass who really should shut up. Right? Like, really, I was that kid.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was very good at the hairy eyeball back then.
Right. The stink eye.
So that's, you know, I started out very young, but didn't make it into it really until I figured out the career choice I had picked was desperately wrong when I got my first job at the United Nations. Yeah. So it's like I figured out I was working on the wrong thing.
Right.
And that all I really cared about was humaning better. Like there's got to be a better way. Well,
there's endless intrigue there. You can't run out of topics.
And yes, I would say that's exactly true. And I'm still wildly entertained by the opportunity. The Wild West. It's the Wild West.
Oh, it sure is. I mean, we will never figure each other out. We will never figure out each other, and we certainly as hell will never figure out whatever God is in this life.
Now, you see, I'm so arrogant as I think I figured some shit out. I think I came with shit to see if I could deploy it on Earth, and that I even have the balls to think I know shit that is meant to be known and be uncommon knowledge that is meant to be common knowledge.
Well, you can't come on this show and claim to know shit and not share shit. So
I'm going to share any you direct. You're my man. Let's go.
What is this shit that you know about God and about people which is in need of sharing?
Okay. Good question.
I'm just going to let you riff, in other words.
Okay. So the first and foremost, we do not break into our own inner dialogue. We do not admit, know, or understand why we're saying what we're saying to ourselves and how that's directing reality, literally. And then we play dumb, have vices, up the yin yang, and blame people, and then kind of get lost in our own narrative about the reality we think is true, but we don't really recognize our own inner dialogue is the boogeyman, the here, like, oh my God. So what I do in the method is I get people to actually have dreams in their life, like have a vision, figure out the language of having a vision. And I break life out into 12 different areas. So you don't just put it all in 1 or 2 or even just 3, 12. And so I demand people dream, vision, and then deal with their inner dialogue and start to hear why you can't have all the things you want in your life. Welcome to your inner dialogue, your theories, how you hold it. And then the kicker, which is, like kind of the second section, is that I'm sorry to inform you, you have your parents' traits and all the lineage and baggage that comes with your parents. As a matter of fact, you're the evolution of whatever shit show they were born into. Yeah, you too. And so we all in some variation, the whatever plagues came with your family line, which is actually a sacred accusation. Like we're here to clean up the human pollution, right? Like there's pollution and it's your own pollution and you don't even realize it. So I care deeply about waking people up to taking over the narrative about themselves, their inner dialogue, their family, and start to correct the whole privilege of having a life story. Right? Like, hey, you're a life story, right? How you doing with that story? Do you have dreams? Do you understand your family? Do you understand why you're getting in your own way? And I turn it all into a deep, wild self-reflection of understanding your dark side, because that's what's eating the cookie and having another beer and blaming whoever you're blaming for why the world doesn't work the way you want versus getting your ass into shape so you go get it.
You know, what you're talking about is something that is sorely needed in this culture nowadays because people are more public with their lives on social media than, of course, we ever have been before as a culture, as a world full of human beings.
Yes.
And we're still new at it.
Yeah.
I mean, we may think we're experts at exposing our entire world, our entire inner thoughts to the whole world and having our own media channel for all the world to see. But every single freaking one of us, including the president of the United States, is a confirmed novice at it. And here's how I think that intersects with what you're talking about. And stop me if you've heard this one before.
All right.
I can't believe how many times I'll get on social media or even I'll get an email in my inbox from someone who's read my newsletter. And I say to myself, who is going to save this poor bastard from themselves?
Oh, I want to.
You know what I mean? Because these people don't even realize how they're coming off because of what you're talking about, in my opinion. So you have this shit show that starts with your parents. Okay.
Well, and their parents and their parents. And trust me, your parents did a better job than the shit show they were handed. And you're probably doing a better job than the shit show you were handed.
There may be a roller coaster over the generations. Who knows?
No, I swear to God, yeah, but the lies come out, right? The other thing I study is how much people lie, right?
Well, don't get ahead of me. We'll get to it.
I'm sorry. You're right.
No, nothing to be sorry about. I think this is a fascinating conversation. And I love what you're bringing up because nobody's ever brought it up as eloquently as you just did. That's why I'm loving this conversation already.
You know why I think no one can bring it up?
Because they're all stuck in it.
They're lying, right? I don't have to worry about my lane because if I'm willing to brutally tell the truth about everything I did, where I came from, and all the secrets in all my family, and I'll tell you anything you want to know. If I'm willing to do that, I can ask you any question and I could go after it. And anyone who's hiding shit can't go after it.
Well, you can lie to yourself because who's going to challenge you? This is all inner self-talk. I mean, until it becomes everything that's external to other people and revealed to them, there's nobody there to challenge it. So cognitive dissonance can run amok inside our own brains because the only person we have to convince is our own self of our own self's stuff.
And I have language for what you're talking about with social media, that the whole world has their PR agent out. Most people date with their PR agent out. Like people are not, and then they have a double agent on the inside. Right? It's like betting against themselves, betting by sleeping with somebody else. Like there is a double agent running amok while the PR agent is out showing the world what it's willing to show. And then they wonder why they don't feel anything, but they're running a Barbie doll puppet show.
All right. Well, see, now here I was thinking I had all these original, cool, incredibly profound thoughts. And here comes Lauren Zander, who's thought of all this before. So great. Let's have a conversation about it.
It takes one to know one. Is that what you just said?
For example.
Yes.
Let me give you a situation. This may or may not be real life situation.
Okay. Fabulous.
Okay. May or may not be fictional.
Sure.
The guy gets on Twitter and he starts ragging on people how they should be a better white man and how he's this Chican, spelled in the old Mexican way with the X.
Okay.
And his name sounds like a British member of parliament. And he's whiter than I am. He's going around talking to people how they need to be better white men and learn how to be less racist and whatever. And I say to this guy, before you're ever going to be able to be a valid, respected voice for social justice, you're going to have to deal with whatever you have to resolve between you and your father.
Aww.
And he went off. I mean, it was like, I'm going to kill your family and whatever, die in a car fire. And I just went hashtag daddy issues. Because, if your name is that and you hate that part of yourself that much, that's exactly what went on. But this guy refuses to acknowledge that.
Well, he doesn't know the only way to really heal it. Like he has a vengeance and that he'll never die in peace, right? Because peace will only come from actually healing it in your family and then teaching it. It would be a very different voice out of him.
That's right.
He's doing
that's a lie.
Well, it's a punk idiot, right? Who's like he's like in the right direction, but on the wrong path.
I'm trying to care for his soul a little more.
No.
The visceral version of me claims, I think the same thing you do on the surface. I think he's a punk idiot, but going around trying to denigrate other people and drag them down for reasons that are so glaringly obvious based on your own history and your own family shitstorm. It's amazing how people will put this on display for everyone because like you just said, they have yet to come to some sort of internal resolution with their own self-talk, and their cover for that is blowing flack at everybody else.
Well, it's even worse.
Go for it.
Because birds of a feather flock together. And so he's
the old echo chamber.
Oh, dear Lord. If you want to know what's plaguing the world, all you have to do is listen to the narrative on the outside. Right. And then you could figure out what's really going on the inside. For all
worse, those people tend to validate each other's poisonous narrative because they're hanging out in that echo chamber and they think, oh, cool. So many people agree the same way I do. But in reality, they found all four of them.
There's no difference between people eating at McDonald's, right? Everyone in there has the same fucking issues in the nicest way I can say that. The way the birds flock together is everywhere. Everywhere they're flocking. Right. And whatever they're doing.
It is, look, McDonald's doesn't have the best salads. If you're going there to eat a salad, no, you're not. It's not mean. It's like what's eating you, you're eating. What's doing this,
it's all evident in your life. And I can track your inner dialogue immediately, and it will defend why you need it to feel better or why you need, why the human is doing exactly what it's doing. It doesn't mean it can't reverse it in 24 hours. It could be reversed in 24 hours. You just have to follow a different set of principles and rules. And we then defend why, we need the French fries. Right. So, or we need whatever we think we need instead of what actually would change our lives immediately.
Okay. So let's backtrack just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this all has a lot to do with what you call personal pollution.
Personal integrity is what I teach. I teach personal integrity, like an ability to keep a promise for yourself, to yourself, with yourself.
Getting real with yourself.
Right. Well, we make promises to others. We might lie to them too, but we make promises to others and we feel obligated in those promises in ways we don't do to ourselves, which is the real crime, right? If you can't keep a promise to yourself, something's really wrong for you. And that's how I break into your inner dialogue, because those are your dreams. Your dreams require actions. Your actions require being able to keep a promise to yourself. Kind of simple. Duh. It's got a duh. And if you can't take the actions that get you to your dreams, something's wrong with your freaking inner dialogue. And that's where you have to go to work.
Well, that's where you say duh, but that's what every person who's a chronic people pleaser does.
Exactly.
They're lying to themselves for the sake of hopefully doing right by someone else and making them happy. They're denying their own needs for someone else's happiness.
So now here's where the dark side kicks up.
All right. Hit me.
That martyr, that people pleaser is getting something real from the contract they made to be that fake.
Well, that may not necessarily be what's good for them, though. In their mind, something that's twisted and sort of psychologically damaging might be their own comfort food mentally, So who knows where people are coming from, but I hear you.
People are deeply stuck. I fundamentally don't believe anyone wants to be. I really believe there's nothing teaching well. There's no leaders leading enough to get people out of the holes we all got ourselves into.
So what is the personal pollution part of it?
Personal pollution is the way you look out in the world, right? You're hating your mother. You're not liking this. You don't like your body. You don't even enjoy the work you're doing. That, you're living in a state of very dirty water, right? You're stuck inside there with yourself. So all the pollution that you see out in the world, it's not really out there. There's pollution out there. There's lots out there, but moment to moment living, you're leaving your personal pollution. If you're miserable, unhappy, not taking care of yourself and not having a good life like you want to have, you're breathing very bad air. And I'm sorry, you're the only one breathing, right? It's you, right? And so if a person can wake up to the pollution is theirs to clean, then it's back to my book title. Maybe it's you, ha ha, cross out the maybe, right? There's no maybe, ha ha.
So to kind of twist a quote that I'm well known for, you're clouded by misery vision.
Completely, exactly the same thing. Personal pollution and that line is perfect together.
I've said for years that guys who look at a woman's looks and are infatuated with her without seeing what kind of person she is are quote unquote clouded by beauty vision.
Well, you know what I call that in my language?
I can only imagine.
Right? But absolutely. The quote that I use and that one go perfectly together. But the way I talk about love is I have that there's three competing voices going on in you. Your head and what your head wants, your heart and what your heart wants, and your hoo-ha and what it wants. And you just spoke hoo-ha blinders.
I thought hoo-has were female body parts.
I had to come up with something that everyone could go, I have a hoo-ha too. Okay. Right. So that it's all in the hoo-ha department. And so it's been working great. Men have hoo-has. Of course you do.
Right? Fair enough. We need
fair enough.
I'm struggling for the male version of the H hoo-ha. I'm sure it's
you know what mine used to be? But it didn't work was hoochie, right? Like hooch, but you're hooch. Right. But then that was drinking. And so that was a problem.
Right.
It didn't work
hoochie and coochie are widely interchanged, but they shouldn't be.
I went with hoo-ha. And most of my audience, boys, it tends to be women. So I'm not trying not to. And in my program where I teach men, there's a whole thing, but I still use hoo-ha. And
poetic license.
I'm a girl. So you have a head, you have a heart, and you have a hoo-ha. And if you really told the truth,
they have head and heart and head number two.
When you get someone to get the truth about what's most people have never let each of the voices talk without competing or fighting with each other or truly fucking with each other. And the way I teach it, so it's kind of a hack and very fast and simple, is we operate like the three voices don't each get 100%. Like your head should get 100. Like if your head should be able to get a 10, your heart should be able to get a 10, and your hoo-ha should be able to 10. Now, no one gets 10s. Okay. We all agree. So somewhere in the 8s, right? Like your head should get an 8.8 with that lady or man, right? Your heart should get an 8.8, moments of 10, moments of 6, right? And your hoo-ha should get an 8.8, moments of 6, moments of 10, right? And then if we ever let ourselves have 300%, we would have a much bigger problem in hunting the fourth H for what you really want and actually being worthy of it. Oh, there's the kicker, right? You can't just, I want the perfect person, but not be the perfect person for that person either. So head, heart, and hoo-ha, develop yourself and go get your mate. But everyone's competing for dominance. All they care about is their hoo-ha and their heart a little. And then they end up with someone they never thought was smart enough. And then they end up with that person raising their kids. Wow, that's going to turn out great.
Okay, so let's help land this plane a little bit.
Okay, good.
I want to clarify what you just said by each piece of that puzzle, each of those three H's getting 100%.
Yes.
I think guys can relate to thinking with the small head instead of the big head.
Yes.
So what you're talking about is head, heart, hoo-ha.
Yes.
So your sexual attraction,
yep,
your emotional mindset, and the logic that should drive you towards a healthy relationship should at least get equal time.
Your head, a little off. Okay, so you're
then explain this better for us.
Fabulous. You are totally on. Okay, your head actually cares about very specific things. Like it cares about education or not. It cares about religion or not. It cares about money and how you.
I think we're on the same page.
Okay,
That's
good.
what I would call the logical reasons why I should be
fabulous.
in this relationship.
Your heart.
I'm looking for a man who makes this much money. I'm looking for a woman who
won't spend my money.
Stable.
Won't spend my money. Bah!
Continue.
Okay, heart is, I can make her laugh. She makes me laugh. It's fun to be together. If I got stuck with you for the rest of my life and no one else was on earth, I'd say I won. Like my heart is happy. I like crazy about you. You're funny. I trust you. I believe you, right? My heart is safe. I'm not worried if you have two phones, right? I'm not worried where you are if you're an hour late. If you say like heart safe and fun and funny and charming and tickle each other in ways that only a heart can do. It's your best friend. It's your fucking lover, best friend, heartfelt space. Hoo-ha. Hoo-ha. Guess what? You want them. No, really, you want them. Actually, you really do. It's hot to fuck them. Honest to God. Even I'm married. I've been with my husband over 20 years, and I swear to God, I'm still hot for my husband.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's a miracle on this earth. But
now, see, I would argue that because your head and heart are in alignment with your hoo-ha, that's what keeps your hoo-ha hot on the tarmac.
100%. And I
got something right.
And I also have a promise. So I teach people to make contracts. And so my contract in my marriage is that I actually am accountable for sex. Like I'm the CEO of the sex department. And my husband is an excellent president. That means if I ask for something, he's happy to like get right on board. And so I have a promise to have sex. Absolutely. That is not boring sex. That is fun sex twice a week over my dead body. Don't care how pregnant I am. And I had 3 kids, like twice a week, no matter what, keeps the love doctor away.
Speaking of love, let me ask you this. There's a debate out there perpetually, of course, about what love actually is. Some people say love is a decision. Some people say love is a feeling. Other people say this is the person who I want to have sex with. Therefore, I'm marrying them because I'm just hot for them. It sounds like you have a way to dissect all of those binary arguments and create meaning from all three that together would, in a crucible of love, create a perfect formula.
Yes. And being able to talk about what you want and what they want and develop language, because I think the biggest problem on earth is that there isn't enough language that people then can connect, learn, and grow together in language.
Not in English. Some other languages.
No, just people don't know how to talk about, not talk about integrity, telling the truth, and opening up. Now, sorry, I've been to all different cultures and no one does what I teach. They all can. Okay. But
I was just talking about the words themselves.
The words are we don't need new words. We need people understanding how to put the concepts of those words together and then teach it so people want to yammer and talk about it with each other, right? So that's the problem, right? We're so on some level boring when it comes to making hot intimacy between two people. So it's like fun to build life together, whether it's a friendship, a business, or your mate to build a family, right?
So help me out here. Are you saying love is something we can talk each other into?
No, you have to be. So I would say the most important ingredient, right, that is present in my marriage with my man from the minute I met him was how much I freaking respected him. Like who he was. Like I was like in awe of his character, what mattered to him, how he cared about his body, how he cared about what he did. My husband is such an environmentalist. He literally makes my children turn the water off while they're soaping up and then turn it back on. Like the guy that does that is so hot to me. I'm like in shock. Right.
See, I do that because I'm a tightwad.
Good. Whatever your wife, if she likes how you penny pinch, then that's hot.
I'm actually joking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, But you understand, like it's you meet in deep respect for each other and the respect for how each other lives and what really matters to each other. That's the heart ingredient. Like I see you and respect you. I see you and I respect you and I want to be on your ride with you, and us together is so much better than me apart without someone as hot and great and deep and thoughtful as you.
You're talking about different cultures there, and I kind of think of love as a namaste between a man and a woman, which is exactly what you just said, like a sign of respect.
Yes. I see you, you see me. We bow to each other and we honor each other. Bam.
Yes. We respect each other's
Yes.
essence.
And I'm not hiding and you're not like, and if I'm hiding shit from you, you could bet he's hiding shit. You know what I mean? Like, and then people don't understand that birds of a feather flock together, and whether you like it or not, you're still in.
We get each other.
You're still in flock, and so the flock, you know, it could be good, could be bad.
Well, I love the language you're talking about this in because it's different than how I've thought about it, but you're on the same path.
Exactly.
Which I think is exactly what you're calling for.
I think that's so much fun, right? Takes one to know one, and here we are. Nice to meet you.
So they say you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. Thinking about it in the terms you've presented it in.
Yeah.
I met my wife, and because I had self-respect and I had self-confidence, I looked at my wife and I found that she was on my team. She was one of my tribe. She was a lot like me. Our minds thought a lot the same way. The way I term it is we get each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So because I have self-respect and because I have self-esteem and because I have self-confidence, I can have my confidence inspired by her. I can esteem her and I can respect her. Therefore, man, look at the foundation we just built to have a great long-term relationship.
Yay.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
Yes.
Similar.
Yeah. It's exactly the same thing, but I go into a lot more language to wake people up so I could teach them how to do it. Because as a coach, I'm literally making people do the work. Like that's like hardcore.
Well, these guys have heard this stuff from me ad nauseum. Let's hear your version. What do you tell people to do to get that better relationship, to make sure they get the right person in their life at the right time, the right way?
All right. So here's how it rolls. The most interesting thing you could ever do is decode yourself. So really go back. Like I literally have an assignment. It does not take very long. And I'm sorry, it's embarrassingly obvious when you do it. You literally take everyone you've ever slept with that you remember their name, right? You can yes, you remember them. And you do your rating of head, heart, and hoo-ha, the fatal flaw in the relationship. Like you do your head rating, your heart rating on a scale of 1 to 10. And you're starting to figure out what your head most wants, heart most wants, and hoo-ha most wants, and what they really had to say about the other person, starting from your I was 7 years old, she rejected me, right? Like go all the way back and then really figure out how it didn't turn out, who blew it, who lied, what was really true in each relationship. And
now, since you're talking about 7-year-olds, which I would consider to be kind of puppy love-ish,
yes.
Not necessarily talking about people you've slept with, but people like you've been in relationships with.
Anyone that you extremely, the language I use in the inner you kind of Handel method is I make people deal with that they have haunting memories, and why those memories haunt you is very different than what you think. And in the area of love, anyone who even remotely haunts you positively or negatively should be in your decoding formula. So all the way back to the first puppy love, all the way to anyone, like your people, right? You don't have that many, right? Everyone has their stack. And I make a person go back to figure out the truth about themselves and do the homework. Make sense? Because
that sounds almost Freudian.
It's not. Though you do need to also figure out your parents' marriage dynamics or 3 marriage dynamics or what's up with them too, because you're having that also, right? And if you're on your 3rd abortion, don't wonder if your mother had one. No, she had one. And yes, she's lying about it. Like so wow. Not even kidding. Not even kidding.
No. Wait. So if you have a pattern in your life.
Yes.
You're saying that it's rather reliable, if not downright reliable, that your parents had that same pattern too. They just haven't been honest with you about it.
I'm frightened by that truth more than not. Like frightened, or it could have been the grandparents. It could be like one over a sis, like first family, like aunts, uncle, like it's right in the blood. First round, first family, like for sure. There is nothing you're plagued with that didn't come from your line. Nothing.
So in defense of what you just said, as radical and as incendiary and in fact even iconoclastic as it sounds. And it is iconoclastic because people will tell you the exact opposite.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is. You say you have 3 children.
Yes.
It's remarkable how you watch your 3 children grow up and they develop the same little secret bad habits you've always wanted to hide from people.
100%. It's utterly epigenetics, which I started studying about 6 or 7 years ago, was because I had a client who I saved, like helped her figure out she should get divorced and have a beautiful divorce. Very epic woman, right? Powerful, lots of money, very successful. And then I got a witchy feeling about a year after we had done working together and really like got her all cleaned up and happy, right? And I just got this witchy feeling. I texted her actually and said like, how's it going? Right? And she goes, you're not going to believe it. I'm about to move in with a guy. And I was like, oh no, call me. Right? Ready? Her father had been married 4 times, happily married on the 4th. Mom married 3, happily married on the 3rd. Right? She is about to help a guy get a green card and thinks she's in love with him. He's 29. She's 38. Okay. And I'm like, really smart woman. And I'm like, oh my God, will you please tell me who your parents married? Go get it. Guess what? Dad's second wife, who she doesn't even remember, he got her a green card. I'm talking, that happened. And I was like, oh, scared the bejesus out of me. I better make people study this shit for the rest of my life. And I better get going. Because this is.
Hold on. Are you saying that this woman is likely practicing for her 3rd marriage that will be the happen?
We literally got the green card deal not to happen. And we sat down and and literally studied her dad's marriages.
So you think that was the track she was on before you intervened?
100%.
Wowzers.
No,
that's like crazy, but amazing.
It's spiritually profound. Like I love this spiritual implications because it means we're all cleaning up the personal pollution that comes from our family and in the world and at large and in our cultures and in our lineage and all of our race, for women, for men, for sexes, for religion, for like all of it is packed in our, like we all came packing with interesting shit that needs cleaning.
But the implication you're making that so much of this has to do with original sin is just fantastic. And yet you're saying you can plow it under and move on and change the course.
I believe that awareness and integrity, like my joke is the promised land, make a promise to yourself, right? The promised land, go to the promised land where you keep promises to yourself. And if you know what your issues are, you can make the right spiritual contracts with yourself. And she, honest to God, really a real happy story. She's in love with a real man that she like can't believe she figured it out and skipped the 3 extra partners and went straight to the lesson of both of her parents, and who they ended up happy with is who she's dating now. I'm not even kidding.
Wow. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's
because I agree with you 1,000%.
Cool. Yay. I'll take it.
For the last 12 or 13 years in my own practice, one of the most valuable services I've offered people I coach is helping them see the reality. Help them have this visibility, this awareness you're talking about into what exactly is going on and why it's destructive or why it would be helpful to do something some other way. And as soon as they realize, okay, I'm doing this and this is what is causing my problems, then they're much more able to recognize it when they see it and do something about it to nip it in the bud before it continues to be a problem. And then they know what they have to work on in terms of changing habits instead of just navigating in the dark without a compass.
Namaste. Namaste.
You say namaste, I say namaste.
Namaste.
Tomato, tomato.
You're Texas. You got to represent, man.
Right on.
Come on.
So we probably need to go ahead and end this, but this is an amazing conversation. You're just on a roll.
You know.
Oh, you're very smart. I love smart people.
I know.
God, I love smart
Honey, you and I could take this shit on the road. We're good together because we're both equally snarky and badass and like happy with our thoughts. And then they really do align. And then we both can learn from each other because we get shit. It's very nice.
Oh, it would be like the Steve Martin Short Netflix special. I'm sure.
Come on, dude. I'm in. I love a good talker who wants to break into society.
Any guy listening to this, and even women, I know some of you women are lurking out there. Kid yourselves. I know this is a show for men, and that's why you're listening to it. Mm-hmm. If you can fog a mirror you have been stimulated by this conversation at one level, whether that's a happy-go-lucky, warm, fuzzy feeling, or it's a cold, prickly, angry feeling. I'm not so sure yet. Either way, write to me or Lauren. Let the fur fly. But I want to tell you about Lauren's Inner You.
Yeah.
So Lauren has a program she calls Inner You, which I think is a wonderful play on words. Kind of like my 10 plus program on play on words, or X and Y communications even. And it's been out for a couple of years and she has perfected it. And the latest version is about to hit the scene in just a couple short months from when this podcast was originally published. So, hey, if you're listening to this a couple months later than it was originally published, you're in, right? And if you get in on Inner You right now, you'll be automatically upgraded to the new version when it comes out. And, Lauren, give us the elevator speech on what those guys can expect when they get in on Inner You. Because if these guys are resonating to the way you're articulating things and throwing things out on the table, I'm sure they're going to love Inner You. So tell us a little bit more.
So I've been working for 20 years. No, really. And I've basically figured out how to get all my stuff, shit, shtick, everything, and storytelling, self-deprecating humor, all the way through how to do the process, the 12 areas, figuring out your parent traits, your hauntings, how to resolve that, how to break into your inner dialogue, how to have personal integrity, clean up your personal pollution. It's literally a step-by-step with humor telling you how to go about doing it. And you'll be insanely compelled to actually do it. And you can meet other people. There's coaching that once you buy it, you get coaching. If you have questions, it's like, and a community of like-minded, want to have the best lives they could possibly have and go deep.
Amazing. You know what, guys? I think you're going to like Inner You. Because I like Lauren, and she's one of the smartest people I've had on this show in ages, and we could talk for the next 10 years about this subject without ever getting bored.
Yeah.
So if you grab your copy of Inner You, I'm going to give you a copy of my brand new program, Get Together, Stay Together, as part of that, because I have this sneaking suspicion they're going to go together.
Aw, they are.
So that's a $97 value for you when you get on Lauren's gig, and I would highly recommend you do that and go for it. And the URL I've set up to make that happen is www.mountaintop.podcast.com/Lauren.
Woohoo!
Except without a Ralph in front of it. LAUREN.
Yeah.
www.mountaintoppodcast.com/Lauren. Lauren, thank you so much for being on the show. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do right after we pull the plug on this particular podcast is we're going to do an audio for that very same Get Together, Stay Together program. So there'll be some continuity there, which I'm excited about.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for such a stimulating and I believe very truthful and visceral conversation about something people rarely ever talk about.
Right? Let's do it.
And guys, if you're not on my newsletter yet, you need to do that. Every day, you're going to get actionable items that help you get better with women, be a better man, be better in your relationships, and just start oozing awesomeness from every corner of your being. And that's what we do every day. If you like intelligence, if you like big words, if you like being challenged, this probably isn't for you. No, I'm only kidding. If you like being mentally challenged, it's probably definitely for you. But go to www.mountaintoppodcast.com. Sign up for that. I guarantee, I triple dog guarantee you. I watched The Christmas Story last night. I triple dog guarantee you that you will find this newsletter to be very different than any of the other schlocky emails that hit your email box, to use one of Lauren Zander's favorite terms. And again, that's all there for you at www.mountaintoppodcast.com. Once again, thanks to my guest, Lauren Zander. And until I talk to you again real soon, this is Scott McKay from X and Y Communications. Be good out there.
The Mountaintop Podcast is produced by X and Y Communications. All rights reserved worldwide. Be sure to visit www.mountaintoppodcast.com for show notes. And while you're there, sign up for the free X and Y Communications newsletter for men. This is Ed Roy Odom speaking for the Mountaintop Podcast.